Okay, so three at a time. There's three of us. Three at a time.
I have to read.
You will have to read. Yes. Are you gonna be able to do that?
Probably.
Okay. Okay. So the way that you read Magic cards. I mean, my shirt literally says "Read, succeed."
I know.
Read, succeed. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Atmos video. We're going to do our first set review of Murders at Markov Manor. This set is on the Ravnica plane. We have yet another cousin with us, Gabe, joining us all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, where all the fine gentlemen and ladies.
All the fine gentlemen.
What up? Yeah. So Gabe is going to be joining us. He's also a Magic player, much like ourselves. Gabe is been playing for what, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? How long has it been now?
It's 3 years. Yeah, nearly. It'll be close to 4 years.
Close to 4 years. Nice. So Jacob Mango.
Yeah.
I'll beep that out. Beep, beep. I just called you a bad word. or I'll just cut it. So Mango's basically along for the ride because he still isn't super familiar with Magic. He's now a pro Lorcana player, yes, having beaten the best player in the state 2-0. Unbelievable. So we're just going to be going through the rares and mythics of this set, and we're going to be talking about them from a commander and a limited perspective. So obviously a lot of these cards are going to be really good and limited. If you've ever watched Limited Resources, which if you haven't, you absolutely should. They are the single best source for any sort of set review. Yeah, they are. Yeah. If you are watching this and have not watched Limited Resources, you should question all your decisions. Immediately go watch LSV and Marshall. They are the best. So we're going to start with the fun ones. We are going to do the uncommons and commons after this. So we're eating our dessert, and then come the vegetables afterwards. Again, limited and commander is what we'll be focusing on. Again, a lot of them are going to be good and limited. And then if we specifically mention it for standard, because you know not a lot of stuff makes the cut for standard. All right, so we're going to trade off reading. I'm going to start. We ready? Mm-hmm. Gonna do it? Yeah. All right.
Good.
So what do we got here? We've got Assemble the Players. 1 and a white for an enchantment at rare. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. Once each turn, you may cast a creature with spell 2 or less from the top of your library. Interesting. So I think right off the bat, this is something that like is not that broken and limited, right? Because it's a 2 mana enchantment that doesn't do anything immediately. Like you are wanting to play a lot of 2 drops. It is power 2. It's not CMC 2, right? So it's not necessarily low drops.
I think there's like niche decks that theoretically you can do this in, but it's not good enough for anything. No one's playing this card.
You mean in Commander or Limited?
In Commander.
In Commander? Yeah, see, this is what Gabe does every time. I'm over here talking about Limited. Gabe just comes in with the Commander takes. It just comes in with the Commander takes. I mean, in Commander,
I mean, it makes you run a lot of weak.
Yeah, in Commander, you can definitely run this in like So there's Luris. There's Luris Commander decks, right, where you have to play all small stuff. Like that's like even CEDH Commander. So this is like, because like if you can start ripping this off the top, right? So a rules check, judge. So Morph is in this set. Have you seen that, Gabe? The return of Morph.
I did not know Morph was in this deck. It's not actually really interesting.
It's not actually Morph. It's disguised.
Oh, right.
As disguise.
Yeah.
It's disguised as
called disguise.
That was the joke. I'm
ashamed. where they come in.
It took me a minute, and I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Right.
Yeah. So you can play them face down for 3 colorless mana, and they're just a 2/2, and they have Ward 2.
Yeah.
Which is basically Morph, but Morph didn't have Ward 2. Otherwise, it's the exact same. And then at any time, you can turn them face up for their disguise cost. So the question is, can you cast creatures off the top of your deck disguised with this? Because they're always power 2 or less. I think so.
That is interesting.
I don't know, but is it checking the literal printed card layer that says 2 in order to do this. This is like an actual hard judge question. I don't know.
I actually don't think so, because like the creature is still you are casting that card, like the creature card, not the disguise cost. That's what my guess would be.
Yeah, it's like, is it checking the card while it's still on top of the deck, or is it checking the card when it's on the stack? Because when you're casting a disguised card on the stack, it is a 2-power creature at that point.
Yeah.
At that point,
Yes.
it is a 2-power creature on the stack. But yeah, I almost want to say yes, but just because
It's in the
just because it's in the
section.
set, just because it's in the set, you know.
I would,
what I mean?
I would like that, but I don't.
You don't think so? All right, check the tape. We'll look it up at some point. Maybe I'll edit it in, but probably not. Maybe I will remember because it's the first card. All right, so anyway,
stamp on whichever of us that says stupid.
Big red stamp.
Whoever's wrong.
It's definitely gonna be. I have the soundboard going. So.
Oh.
So yeah, in Commander, it's really not that exciting, but it might actually have some applications. And hey, Enchantress is generally low power stuff too.
Yeah.
Right, and this is an enchantment, so maybe it's got some legs there, but not.
That's actually that would be interesting.
Oh, now
because
you're...
like.
Yeah.
No. You know I love an Enchantress deck.
Yeah,
Actually, this could be lit with that.
But at the same time, you need a pretty high creature density, right, for this to actually rip off cards, and you don't have high creature density in Enchantress.
I think that's much more often now, and you can play the things that like enchant
all the
other
enchant creatures
now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but this only casts creatures off the top of your deck, is my point. So like,
yes,
you want a bunch of creatures on the top of your deck. So if over half your deck is enchantments, anyway.
I just hate that it does nothing. Like, do you really see it having any kind of legs in limited?
We'll see how many things are power 2 or less. I think I would not take this
power.
Yeah, I would not take this early unless like there's a bunch of really good flyers that are like power 2 or less or something. I don't know. You really have to build around it for it to be good.
Angels.
Yeah.
Red white angels.
Yeah, red white aggro could probably get there with this.
Yeah, because isn't the angel in this set red? Aurelia.
Aurelia, yeah, but she.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll see her, but she's much more expensive. So if we spend this much time on every card, we will go nowhere.
It'll be 30 years.
Nice. That's something I'm gonna have to edit out. Actually, no. This is Magic. This isn't Lorcana.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Right.
Who gives a good goddamn?
He censors himself and then comes on, thinks better of it. All right.
I'm so hyped for this card, by the way.
Okay. Aurelia's Vindicator. All right.
Okay.
Well, if you're really hyped for it, you read it. You read it. I know I said I'd do 3, but you called it.
Aurelia's Vindicator. Cost 4, 2 and 2 white. Creature Angel at Mythic. Flying Lifelink, Ward 2, Disguise X and 3 and a white. So pretty damn expensive. When Aurelia's Vindicator is turned face up, exile up to X other target creatures from the battlefield and or creature cards from graveyards.
Well,
when Aurelia's Vindicator leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to their owner's hands. It is ridiculous removal.
Yeah.
As well as a blink. As well as like just generally some sort of safety if you need to get something off the battlefield.
Yeah. This card in limited, 5 out of 5. S plus.
Very good card.
S plus.
Yeah.
Like,
difficult
I can't
to
give
beat.
it enough. Yeah.
Difficult to beat.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is one of the cards with the label. Like, if you're playing someone in limited and they play this, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, you have a right to be upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have complaint equity when your opponent.
Exactly.
When your opponent plays this
you have
card.
complaint equity.
So yeah, right off the
God.
bat, like Gabe said, this is a flying lifelink Ward 2 4/2. So you play this, and if they cannot, so I would say the most practical way to deal with this is a cheap red spell where you can also pay the Ward 2 cost and don't feel bad. Like if you have a red spell, I don't know, maybe one of the best red-white burn spells of all time called Lightning Helix. I mean, they would never reprint that. They would never reprint
Yeah.
Lightning Helix ever in any set. But if somehow someone had Lightning Helix in limited, it would be very good into this card.
Yeah.
But
You'd be upset.
Yeah, you would be upset if this got Lightning Helix.
Yeah.
You'd go, Lightning
Yeah,
Helix,
yeah,
oh my god!
That'd be really upsetting.
So the disguise cost. Remember, you can pay 3 to play this face down as a 2/2 with Ward 2. Then at any time, at instant speed, you can pay X, 3 and a white, to flip it up. And when you do, you exile X target creatures from the battlefield or graveyards. But then, so multi-Oblivion Stones. So for 4, you do nothing. You just turn her face up. For 5, you grab 1 creature. For 6, you grab 2 creatures. And when she leaves the battlefield, so she doesn't necessarily have to die. She can get blinked, bounced, exiled, whatever. You return the exiled cards to the hand. So since it goes to the hand and not back to the battlefield, I think this is discreetly an offensive card. Like, you're not really doing shenanigans with your own creatures, right? Like, you're not using it to try to... Because if it just returned them back to play from exile, there's cards that do that where you can, like Gabe said, effectively use them as a blink.
Right.
Like, you play it to, like, bounce around your creatures. But since this returns it to a hand, even if they deal with it immediately, when its ability resolves... So if you undisguise this, it still goes off, and it still was a bounce.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, like, 6 mana bounce 2 creatures back to their hand at instant speed isn't, like, great, but they also had to use a card to kill this thing.
Yeah.
So, because if it was just an instant...
I think there's...
Oh, it's S+. It's S+. It's S+. In Commander, I'm actually much lower on it. I don't think this is...
Yeah, it's obviously far worse in Commander. But
Yeah,
if you have, like, an Angels deck that has some blinking shenanigans... Like, you could get away with that.
But I don't think you ever want to blink this thing. Why would you blink this?
No, use this to blink things. And it's just like, I think...
Well, this thing doesn't blink. It doesn't blink. It returns them to your hand. It doesn't blink.
I know, but if you're exiling things a lot, and like, in general, things that you want to come back into play, if you're bouncing into your hand, it's still better than, like, dying or something else. Like, the fact that this can save things that otherwise you would not be able to is strong.
Yes, you're right. It can be used in response to removal to tuck something.
Yeah.
That is true. And it is an angel, which means there's always some sort of commander
like,
that can give it.
Innate energy. Yeah.
All right, we spent enough time on that. All right, on to Mango. What is this one?
Case of the Unbeaten Feast.
Uneaten.
Well, Unbeaten Feast. It's 1 white, and that is a rarity.
Yep.
It's an enchantment case.
Case is a new subtype for enchantments.
Yeah, what does case mean?
Yeah,
Like
we'll
a
see.
saga.
Let's read through it and see if we can figure it out.
It is a case.
It is a case.
Right.
It itself
Okay.
is a case.
Yeah. Alright, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain 1 life, is the first part.
Actually, you gain 1 life, not a may.
Alright.
You just do.
Which is unlikely to be relevant, but weirdly could be sometimes.
Yeah, right, yeah. And to solve, you've gained 5 life or more. Wait.
Yeah, you're right.
To solve, you've gained 5 or more life this turn.
Yep.
If unsolved, solve at the beginning of your end turn step.
Yeah, your end step. So what that means...
That's when you end your turn, though, right? In Magic? Your end step?
That's at the beginning of your end step is a discrete kind of time period. It's right when you enter the end step, which is different from at the end of the end step. But that's... You're still a little ways from having a knowledge base where that's relevant to you, but it does end up being surprisingly relevant in Magic.
Very relevant, yeah.
So what this basically means is, it's a lot of words to do something pretty simple, because Magic is just really rigid in its rule set. But it says, if you ever manage to gain 5 life, at the end of your turn, this upgrades to being solved. So, like, you play it.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like... So this is the general way that these cases go. You play a case, it does a thing that kind of dovetails into the challenge to solve it, and then once you solve it, at the end of your turn, it upgrades into being solved, and then it's like, good.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens when it's solved.
So when it's solved, it says sacrifice this case. Creature cards in your graveyard gain, you may cast this card from your graveyard until the end of turn.
Okay. So you kind of see what it's doing there?
Yeah.
So the idea is that you're playing, like, presumably a lot of little creatures that are low to the ground, so you're, like, gaining life, and then once you've managed to gain 5 life, either from creatures that gain life or playing enough creatures to gain life, then since you've played a bunch of little creatures, you can just sack this and, like, replay them from your graveyard.
Okay.
Kind of, like, reanimate them.
Yeah.
Also kind of a Luris-y sort of card, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
kind of what Luris does as well. I mean, I'm not too excited about this in much of I mean, even in limited, once again, like, it's obviously the last card was an absolute bomb in limited, but here, I mean, you really have to you have to build around wanting to cast a bunch of creatures from your graveyard and being able to gain life enough to upgrade
I think
this.
The problem with this is, like, you getting 5 creatures on the battlefield or being able to gain 5 life with innate other life gain synergies in your deck in limited.
Yeah.
And having card draw to, like, be able to do that would be so insane. But I do feel like if you had some kind of build around where this worked, gaining that much life in limited is also, like, a win condition. You got a lot of shit on the board.
So sometimes they'll print something in a set that's like 1 in a white, gain 3 life, draw a card, and instant speed. I can't remember. There's like a specific name for a card that's fairly infamous that does that. So, like, if they printed that, it's pretty realistic to play, like, 1 drop, 2 drop, do that on turn 5. Like, that's one way to get it. Yeah. Another way is if there's pretty solid lifelink creatures, right? If there's a 3/3 lifelink for 3, which they will make, like, maybe even a common. Like, I could see them realistically making a 3/3 lifelink for 3 common. Or a 3/1 lifelink even, right? Like, your thing doesn't have to live. Especially because this thing can bring it back. So imagine they print, like, a 3/1 lifelink for 2. Or, like, a 3/1 that can gain lifelink that only costs 2. And then you just need to play 2 creatures. I mean, maybe. But it's pretty edge. And in Commander, I'm not...
I feel like a lot of the cases are like that.
Yeah, perhaps. We'll see. We got a lot to go through. But in Commander, I guess if you're a creature-based life gain deck, this is fine. I don't see why you wouldn't play this, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
All right. Delney. Streetwise Lookout. 2 and a white for a 2/2 mythic legendary creature human scout. Creatures you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. Okay. If an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Oh boy.
Okay.
So that
low to the ground.
Yeah, and that's anything triggering.
This is kind of wild.
Yeah, so it's a panharmonicon. Oh no, panharmonicon is just ETB effects. This is all ability triggers. So this is like
This is wild, honestly.
Yeah, this one's pretty neat. This is pretty brutal with Esper Sentinel.
Yes.
Because it makes Esper Sentinel trigger multiple times. Esper Sentinel taxes the first spell that your opponents play.
What is the?
I know what this is.
Imperial Recruiter, the white version. What does that cost?
Yeah, they're both 2 and a white.
Its power is definitely.
Yeah,
its power
it works with that.
2.
Yeah, it works with that. Yeah, so it's a double fetch with that. Oh, you know. Okay, this here's the first modern
Stitch.
That's good with Rockstar Stitch, exactly. This is the first modern potential, maybe because of Orcish Bowmasters. That's pretty gross. That's pretty gross. Yeah, that'd be pretty good with Orcish Bowmasters.
Yeah, holy shit.
This also seems good in limited. Like if you get things with some butts, like if you get some things with some butts, it makes combat very difficult for your opponent.
Yeah.
So like 2/3s, 2/4s.
Yeah.
They have to double block to ever kill them.
Yeah.
And they have to have multiple things with power 2 or less to like ever profitably block.
Right.
In order to trade off your 2/4s. and it also kind of like helps itself survive because like
unless they have like death touch stuff,
small death
really
touch stuff. Yeah, this card's just good in everything. I think. Even
are there many 2/5s or 1/5s?
There's
they're typically bad.
Everything.
They're typically bad. Anyway, this card seems great. I expect it to be worth money. That's my prediction. So it's currently apparently selling for over $20. So accurate.
Yeah. All right.
And yeah, we'll just keep cycling. Go for it.
Doorkeeper's Thrall, 1 and a white. Creature Thrall at legendary. It's a 1/2. Flash flying. Artifacts and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger.
Okay. So the opposite. Also, this is a rare. It's not legendary.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. So this is very similar to a Hushbringer, right? Hushbringer is a 1/2.
Yeah.
Right.
It has flash and flying too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have flash? I'm not sure if Hushbringer has flash or not.
One second. I can figure this out.
Yeah. Anyway, I think this card's good. In limited, not so much. Maybe it's okay in limited.
It does not have flash.
It does not have flash. Okay, so this is substantially better than Hushbringer then.
Yes.
Hushbringer also Hushbringer also eliminates leaving effects too, right?
Yes, you are correct.
But this one also gets artifacts.
Yes, which is probably more relevant.
Yeah, well, the fact that it has flash has the implication that it at least 0-for-1s on ETB, right? That's kind of the idea, is that you're getting them when you play it initially. Like they're expecting something good, and you're like, no. See, that's right. Like they play something and they're
use
like,
it as an
instant, exactly. They play like a creature that's like, when this comes into play, it gives +3/+3, and you're like, also no.
For 2.
Yeah,
no.
for 2,
Absolutely
no.
not.
But it is pretty tiny. You probably aren't excited about playing this in Commander, right? No one's going to be a fan.
No.
You just piss people off. Yeah.
You'd have to be like a dick and sideboard it in to like play in a play group against something specific.
Yeah, it might see some sideboard slots actually in constructed, depending on the meta, because it's very efficient. It is a threat. It's very efficient.
It's efficient against certain things.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's an $8 card.
Yeah, it has some application.
Yeah. No witness.
Says
2 and a white.
You can almost read.
Oh.
You said no witness.
There will be no witness. No witnesses. 2 and a white. It's a sorcery and it's a rare.
2 and 2 white.
Yeah, 2 and 2 white sorcery. That's rare, right?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Each player who controls the most creatures investigates, then destroys all creatures.
Yep. So investigating means you make an artifact token that you can pay 2 mana at any time and sacrifice it to draw a card. So it's like it's a Wrath of God that lets someone draw a card at some point. I don't know why you would ever play this over Wrath of God, which is also not played very much.
It's doesn't seem great.
The only
read
reason
the bad card again.
When cunning fails, there's always violence. That's great flavor text. That should be. We need to put that on a shirt for you, Gabe. When cunning fails, there's always violence. That should be your motto. Because you're cunning and also violent when that fails.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, someone's got to be.
Somebody's got to be the cunning but violent one.
So I think the only application with this is if you are specifically making a deck that creates a bunch of tokens that you also want to die.
Sure.
For some reason. All right, and we're done.
Sure.
In limited, this card is probably good because it's So it's a cheap board wipe.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's a cheap board wipe, and people never play around it. And like, yeah, they get a card, but if you kill like the 3/3, because in limited, the average value of the next card is not that high because it's limited. So if you manage to like grab one really powerful thing and like two mediocre things, like maybe the card they get out of this is just a land.
This is going to upset so many red-white decks that get it played on them, but also be so good for a red-white deck.
Yeah, it could be. You have to play.
If they throw down a big butt and you've got a bunch of stuff on the board that you don't want to like get whittled down, or even have two things out, or a blocker or something, like that could just completely let you run through and get the damage you've already done over with.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Right. All right. That's back to me. 10th District Hero, 1 and a white, creature human for a 2/3 and a wall of text. So it's already a 2/3 for 2 at rare. Pretty good.
And this is a new thing, right? Collecting evidence.
Yeah, collecting evidence. So collecting evidence means you have to remove that much power of creatures from your graveyard from the game, or more. So like, if you have a 2/2, that satisfies collect evidence 2, or 2 1/1s.
Yeah.
A 3/3 also would, but you're kind of being wasteful there. So you need some stuff in the graveyard. The flavor of that is amazing, right? Because you're collecting evidence of murders, the murders in the graveyard. You're exhuming the bodies into exile. Like, brilliant game designers over there. Not so much executives.
Vigilance for 4. Also not bad.
You're right. Yeah, so you collect the first time you collect 2, it becomes a human detective, and it becomes a 4/4 with vigilance. That's not until end of turn. What's
vigilance?
It does not have to tap to attack, so it can attack and block.
Yeah.
And that's at instant speed, so you can do that whenever, and it doesn't exert it or anything. You can use it as it's not a combat trick because it's on the board, but like, so this is an important term which you'll learn in Magic, and it's called threat of activation.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have 2 evidence, then you can collect and leave 2 mana open going into combat. They have to assume this is a 4/4.
Right.
But you don't have to make it a 4/4.
Yeah.
So if you have something else you actually want to do with the mana, that's another reason why you always go to combat before playing stuff.
Yeah.
For reasons like this.
Because they can either choose to block or not.
Yeah.
No.
Right. And unless they want to deal with a 4/4, they're not going to block it because you can just make it a 4/4.
Right.
But you don't have to because they probably won't block it.
They might double block it, and then you just trade off 2 things, and you're like, sorry.
They just block it with something huge.
Yep. And then you have 2 and a white, collect evidence 4, so 6 total power to collect to get to this point. And the first part, that if it is a hero, if it's a detective, just is checking to see that you at least transformed it once already. It becomes a legendary creature named Maleva, the Stalwart.
Mm-hmm.
It has base power and toughness 5/5, and it gains other creatures you control have indestructible, which is very good.
Yeah.
So
this is insane and limited. Also very upset for you to have this played on you.
Yeah, this card's very, very good and limited. The thing is like, you understand what the pattern is here, right? So you can kind of control their ability to collect evidence, right? By like, they're probably going to want to aggressively trade off, right? When they play this, if you're representing board trades, they're probably just swinging into you aggressively so that they can get their evidence up and make the game unplayable for you. So yeah, you have some options to try to play around this. I don't think having 6 total evidence is just like a given. Nor do I think it'd be fast to get there. Now, if you have self-mill...
Ooh, that could be hot.
Yeah, we'll have to see if blue or black has like free self-mill.
But I do think the first step is pretty damn easy.
Yeah,
so
2 is pretty easy.
I think a 4/4 vigilance on turn 4 in limited is fine.
It doesn't have to be turn 4. It could be turn. It could be turn 3.
Yeah, but turn 4.
I'm saying it could. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I think this card is good. I mean, just the 2/3 for 2. I'm probably putting that in my deck. So this card is obviously pushed into playability. Also think it's probably fine in Commander, particularly if you care about humans. It's not like CEDH, but I mean, giving everything indestructible.
Yeah.
Is
Sure.
nice.
Right.
It's nice. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Right. Unyielding Gatekeeper.
Look at that sweet.
1 and a white. Creature Elephant Cleric at rare, and it's a 3/2. Disguise 1 and a white, which is what we talked about.
God looks so ridiculous.
It's a 2/2 creature. When Unyielding Gatekeeper is turned face up, exile another target non-land permanent. If you controlled it, return to the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, its controller creates a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. What a mouthful. So,
this card's insane.
yeah, this card's insane.
Also, how could this thing ever disguise itself? That's the joke. Okay, so what this guy does, right? He's a 3/2 for 2, just good there. But you disguise him, so you pay 3 mana. He's a 2/2 with War 2. Then at any time you can flip him, and so this is what Gabe was really thinking of with the Angel. This does what Gabe wanted the Angel to kind of do.
Yeah.
It either just immediately blinks your permanent, any non-land, so it dodges removal. It does a whole bunch of dodging. Yeah. It doesn't cheat combat because it comes back into play tapped. Because sometimes you would blink something, like imagine you attack with something on your turn, and then if you flipped it up and blinked it, it would exile and come back untapped. So that would allow you to like surprise block. So they didn't want you to be able to do that. So it comes back tapped. But you can also use it as removal to turn whatever broken thing they have into a 2/2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Piggy something.
Yeah. Piggy
I mean,
something.
I think this.
Exactly.
I think this card is insane in Commander. I think this card is insane and limited. Like
I wouldn't say
just
insane.
insane.
I think it's good in Commander. I think it's really good in Limited. I think it's good in Commander.
I mean, it's not like CEDH, but like this is at a much higher level than the last card we talked about.
Yeah. It blinks stuff. It's like it's unconditional removal, right? It's an exile.
Yeah.
And they get a 2/2, so it can be used against Commander. So yeah, it's pretty good in Commander. But don't forget, you do have to spend 3 whole mana to play a 2/2.
Yes.
Let's not forget that. Like that's not fast or good. That part of it. You're not just paying 1 and a white to get the ability. You're 5 mana deep at that point. But yeah, I think it's good. We'll have to see how I'm hoping this limited format's a bit slower because I think it has to be in order for someone to ever in order for anyone to disguise anything.
Yeah.
Wojcik, Investigator for 2 and a white. It's a creature Angel Detective, and it is also a rare. It's a Flying Vigilance, and it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, investigate once for each opponent who has more cards in hand than you.
Okay.
It's a 2/4.
2/4 flying for 3. That a 2/4 flying
with
for
vigilance
3 already is borderline playable. With vigilance, it's for sure playable. That makes
by
air
just
combat impossible. Just stats, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, we're just upside. We're cranking out some artifacts that can draw us cards.
Yeah.
Opponents are getting nothing.
This card will
Pretty
single-handedly win limited games.
Yeah. You play this limited, and you're going. Good luck.
Yeah. You play this in limited. You're like cheap flyer, cheap flyer, cheap flyer, cheap flyer.
Yeah.
You're just block attack with the 2/4.
So I imagine that
card is great.
since we're seeing clues, we're going to see tokens energies, artifacts energies, and token artifact dyings energies. Is my prediction. We're not going to see really any of those things in white so much, so we'll have to see that evolve. And also, we're going to see a lot of it at the common and uncommon level because they don't put build around mechanical pieces at this level because you have no cohesiveness at the rare or legendary level in limited because you see them so rarely, right? You're only going to see 3 to 4 of them like a draft. Not anymore. Play boosters have 2 slots for rares and legendaries now. Remember, Gabe, draft boosters are forever dead.
Right.
Forever dead. Foil every pack, 2 rares a pack. So it'll be a bit different. Yeah, love this card.
I have to grab my water.
Yeah, I love that card.
Good luck.
Oh.
Good luck. Have fun.